show. I'm just saying. Okay, all right. Welcome to another episode of Off Court Noise. I am your host, Terrian Minor. With me, as always, is this guy right here. Amazing guy, phenomenal guy.
Thanks, man. So much compliments here. Yeah, Sean Bollettieri Abdali.
Yeah.
With a legendary coach here with us.
Legendary.
Patrick Mouratoglou. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, and congratulations for the great way you saying my name.
Oh, right. I was sitting back. I wasn't going to say a thing. It was going to be like, I was going to say, yeah, welcome, Patrick.
Thank you.
Bravo.
Patrick, a.k.a. Serena's coach, a.k.a. one of the nicest facilities in France, a.k.a. just a good jacket wearing type of guy, and an amazing set of hair too. So, yeah.
Wow. What a start.
So, let's
That's a nice way to soften him up, man. Perfect.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm loose now.
So let's get right into it. Go ahead, Sean.
Patrick, I've heard a lot about you, obviously. And actually, the first time was not because of Serena. I met Aravind Rezai about maybe 5-6 years ago. And I'm half Persian. So when I heard that she was a Persian girl, obviously, I was very interested because I don't have any connection to the country and I've been here my whole life. And I said, wow, who's this Persian girl that plays tennis? It was Indian Wells. And I saw that backhand. And I was like, wow. I said, I have to work with this girl. So right away, I called my buddies at IMG. I'm like, who's this girl? I need to work with this girl. Bring her to me. I need to work with this girl. They said, oh, she's in France. She's working with Patrick Mouratoglou and so on and so on. I won't say what they said, but basically I didn't pursue anything, but I was always admiring like, wow, how did she develop that backhand? So because there's not that many players from that country, and recently we actually interviewed the #1 Davis Cup player from Iran, and learned a lot of the difficulties they have in that country. How was it working with Rezai?
Well, first, she's French, but you're right. Both of her parents are from Iran.
Yes.
But she was born and raised in France, so I mean, she didn't have those difficulties that other Persian players might have. But she was born in a difficult neighborhood, and the parents had no money, and they fought incredibly hard to bring her to top 100 in the world, which was an incredible achievement for both of the parents. Didn't know anything about tennis, and her father was coaching her. I met her a few years after. She was a top 100 player. She was between 60 and 100 in the world for a few years. And she felt that maybe, she had the potential to go higher, but they didn't figure out how to do it. So we started to work together, and we didn't work long, but it was quite successful because she went from 60 in the world to 15 in the world in 8 months.
Nice. Wow, congratulations. Nice. That's amazing.
Beating #1, #2, #3, #4, #5 in the world during this period, and winning Madrid, which is a big tournament. So she did really well. I think she was an incredibly powerful player.
And not very tall, right?
No, she's not tall. But she had, some people have the fire in the hand and in the arms. So she had that. And, but she didn't know exactly. It's like someone who would have a big weapon, but wouldn't know exactly how and when to use it, and would take some crazy risks all the time. So when she was in a good day, she could beat anyone. But when she was in a bad day, she could lose to anyone too, because the level of risk was crazy. So my role with her was really to teach her how to, not to hit the shots, but to play tennis.
Yeah.
And she understood very fast. We went to a lot of matches together, and I was telling her while we were at the tournaments, come with me. I'm going to show you, we're going to watch matches together and we're going to talk about it. So she understands the tennis better, and she really, really enjoyed talking about tennis.
That's actually a very valuable tip for coaches who are watching. Taking a player and watching matches.
Yeah, they don't do that much. If you see them during the tournaments, they play the match or they practice and then they go back to the hotel.
Yep.
But it's interesting to know the opponents, to see them in difficult situations, to see what they do well, what they do wrong, and to learn a lot about the game by watching. So you can do that also in the hotel room watching TV.
Right.
But we did it this way, going to the matches, sitting in the stands and discussing about the match. And she understood. I mean, and she was very excited about talking about tennis and understanding tennis better. And we just made her game more I wanted her game to have more sense. So she got closer to the baseline, hitting more topspin and not play as close to the lines as she was used to. And she started to play unbelievable because she knew how to play tennis. I mean, her shots were amazing. And I remember the first big win she had was against Justine Henin. First round of Madrid tournament that she ended up winning.
Yeah, I saw that match.
And she beat her and she left the court after the match and she came to me and she said, "It's incredible. I beat Justine Henin and I don't even feel like I played unbelievable." And I said, "No, you didn't play unbelievable. You just played smart. I mean, you played logic." And she had so much tennis that just playing a logic tennis was enough to beat most of the player. So that's the story with her. And it was cool. We had a very good relationship, great relationship. We had a great run. Like the 8 months were unbelievable.
It was amazing. Yeah. I also love how Patrick said relationship, because sometimes people ask, hey, I coached quite a few players on WTA who did really well, top 50. And they said, well, what took you there? Why so many players? So, it wasn't because what I was teaching them. It's the relationship. That relationship is what, at least for me, my experience was mostly on WTA. You have both sides, ATP and WTA. Every time now I turn on TV and a big player is winning a match, I look this side, it's Patrick. I'm like, here's Patrick again. Here's Patrick again. It's pretty amazing. So on the men's side and women's side, how is that different as a coach?
I would say it that way. I think it's different every time. And I totally agree with what you said about the relationships. It's all about it. You need to create a relationship, a lot of trust. The player has to believe in his coach 100%. Yeah. If he doubts his coach, it's not going to work. So the main role of the coach is to find a way that the player believes in him and trusts him. And it's something that you work on every day of your life. You have to keep building this relationship every day, and you need to know your player perfectly. Every time someone asks me, what's your method? I always answer, I have one method per player and I have to find it. I don't know it. Right. I start with a player. I build a relationship. I get to learn this player, how he plays, what's his personality, what he likes, what he dislikes, what he likes in tennis, what's his strengths, his weaknesses, his pattern of plays, his history, and where he comes from, what his family is like, what are his relationships with people. And once you have the complete picture, you can start to work and start to imagine how to build a method for this one. Yeah. And that's what makes it so interesting. Otherwise, you keep repeating the same thing all the time.
I think for me as a parent too, because you get so many coaches nowadays, kids are just a number. So as for other parents who's listening out there who, got their kids going through, you get these coaches and it's just a number in a system, and then they think every kid is the same. When that's why you get so many kids who, they play the same and this and that, but there's nothing special about it. They're not doing anything because the coaches at the end of the day, they just either don't give a shit, or it's just like, as long as my bills are paid, I'm good. Who cares? But like you said right there, just to be able to, you can't coach everyone the same. You have to say, okay, what is his strengths? What are their weaknesses? If I talk to this person the same, will I get this reaction? If I speak to her this way, will I get that reaction? And I mean, that makes sense right there. And it's those little things out there that I think parents like myself, we have to understand. Like when you're looking for a coach, look for the ones who are going to let your child know that I hear you and we're listening to you, because you get involved in a lot of these, not necessarily a lot of academies, but a lot of places you go to, it's just a number you get lost in the shuffle.
Definitely. I think a lot of people would also be really interested about your success story. How did you start in tennis? Right. When did you start your academy? What got you to get the motivation or the guts to do an academy? Nick always, tells me, discourages me to do an academy. Hey, Nick, I bought this club in Newport Beach, 24 courts by the beach. Let's do it. First thing we're going to do, we're not doing an academy. But Nick, I just got these courts. Son, do you want to get married 8 times? No, Nick, you're not doing an academy. Yes, sir. So what got you going?
Well, I started like most of us, I guess. I was a kid and I fell in love with that sport when I was 4 years old, going to the tennis club with my parents, because they were playing. And I thought I would become a top player. And that was my only goal in life. I was obsessed with tennis, playing all the time. Didn't have a coach, but I didn't care much. I was playing by myself, staying Saturday, Sunday, 8 hours on the court against different guys every hour, but I was staying because I was just enjoying it too much. And one day the federation thought I was good. They started to take care of me, and I was one of the best in France for my age. And I thought, okay, I'm going to be a top player. And one day everything stopped because my parents had other plans for me, and they thought it was too risky. They thought I needed to study. So I had to stop. And that's the turning point of my life, because I thought they were taking my life away from myself.
Wow.
I was completely lost. I had no plan B. That was my only goal. And it took me a few years to recover from it. I started to work, not in tennis at all, for a few years. And when I was 26, I suddenly thought, okay, so what I did not achieve, what I could not achieve, this chance I didn't have. The only way I'm going to cure myself is to give this chance to others and succeed, and make them succeed instead of me. So that was my drive.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. To not only have what you want, to have your goals and then not make it, and then be like, I'm going to help other people. Because honestly, had that been me, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be the best such and such, and I'm like, oh, you know what? F this, I'm going. I'm not going to help anybody else. I didn't make it. But people like you are and people like Sean are what makes the world a better place, and what makes it develop, and what makes it grow as individuals. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
So the academy, how did that start?
So that started I was renting two courts in a tennis club.
Wow.
So that's how it started. 1996. Mm-hmm. Again, with that goal to help guys and see what's there at the top of the tennis game. I had no idea. And I had no idea about anything. I just started. And I didn't think, I was sure I would find a way.
Right.
Sure. I didn't know how.
Right.
But I had a lot of passion. I had a lot of energy. I love people. I was prepared to give all my time. And
so at what point did your parents start actually supporting your idea of tennis?
Straight away.
Straight away,
because I think afterwards they realized that it was a mistake to stop me to take me away from tennis. Right. So a few years after, they were prepared to support me, and now they're incredibly happy, I guess, and proud. I hope
for sure. They got a lifetime membership to one of the nicest places in the French Riviera.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. So Serena, how did you and Serena start connecting?
It was much after 1996. It was in 2012. She lost in the first round of Roland Garros, and she decided to stay a few days in Paris before going to Wimbledon. And right after her loss in Paris, she wanted to get ready for Wimbledon.
Yeah, of course.
It was a difficult period. You know, she had a very bad injury. And then she had a blood clot where she almost died. It was back in 2011. And when she came back to tennis, she was winning, but she didn't win a Grand Slam for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And this loss in the first round of Roland Garros was really very hurtful to her. And she just called me because she knew I had an academy in Paris at that time. It was not in the French Riviera, it was in Paris, and she wanted to practice. So she called me and she said, "Can I come to your academy to practice?" And I said, "Yeah, of course." I mean, who says?
And I think that was on video. It was on Serena's, I think, documentary or something. I saw some video and I was watching, and the way you were speaking with her, you were not really being forceful, but you were also kind of pushing her. And the balance was really fantastic. And I think that's something really great that even parents can really learn from, parents or coaches. So really, you've done such an amazing job for tennis. So tell us about Nick Bollettieri. All of us grew up with him, obviously. So, I mean, Nick, fast forward, he saved my life and he is my life. So what about you? Did you grow up with Nick Bollettieri? Did you know much about him? And what do you think of him?
Yeah, I'm born in 70. So when I was young, I didn't know him, but I knew his academy.
Right.
It was the worldwide reference. There was no other. He's the guy who created all this. He was the model for all of us, and he definitely was for me. I just had my own philosophy of tennis, which I think is a bit different from his, even though we agree on a lot of things, and we have actually a great relationship with Nick.
Yes.
But he was definitely the one who gave me this will and this motivation to do something big the way he did it in the US. There was nothing really big in Europe. And I thought, it's possible because he did it. He started from zero and he built something incredible. He had so much success. He helped so many players. He's so charismatic. I want to do the same. I mean, I'm dreaming about tennis. I couldn't do it myself.
Right.
Let's do it, and we'll see. And I'll figure it out. He figured it out. But it's the same for Serena and Venus. Like what they did opened the door to so many other players.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Someone has to show the way. The first one. And I think in terms of academy, Nick Bollettieri was the first one, and he will always. I mean, he was not the first one, actually. There was one, Harry Upman probably was here before him, but he was bigger.
Right.
You know, he was the big name, for tennis academy. So he was an example.
Also, champion after champion was going through those doors. And Serena, I mean, come on, Serena is the ultimate champion in the world. I mean, she's a role model, not just for girls, but also for a lot of men athletes as well. And how did you actually start approaching her and start talking to tennis about her or tennis with her?
So when she came to my academy, she just wanted to hit. So she asked me to have 2 hitting partners in front of her.
Yeah.
So there were 2 guys and she was hitting, and she hit for 45 minutes in a row. I was on the court, but not to coach her at all. I didn't even have a racket. I was here. She was at my academy. I wanted to make sure that everything was fine for her. And after 45 minutes, she stopped and she sat down to drink next to me. She looked at me and she said,
Nick.
"Talk to me." Nick, I was talking about you.
Wow. This is big, folks. To everyone listening right now, Nick Bollettieri just walked in right now in our Patrick interview. This is amazing right here.
One more, maybe chair here. The 2 legends.
Come, Nick.
You can have my
Come on,
Join us.
Nick. No. You're sitting here. You're sitting right here.
It's funny because actually Nick called me today, but I thought you called me because you
from
knew
my office.
you would see
I
me.
didn't know.
It's funny.
Nick, right here.
Where do you want me to sit?
In the middle.
On your lap or what?
Come here.
You can sit on my lap.
Come here.
anytime.
God, good seeing you, buddy.
So just to finish fast this story. So when she sat down after this 45 minutes hit, she looked at me and she said, "Talk to me." I didn't expect that at all. And I had to talk to her about her tennis,
Right.
which is something I did. And she said, "Oh, that's interesting. Can we work on that?" And I said, "Okay." And we started to work on that. It was the most unplanned thing.
Right.
And we started in 2012 on a tennis court for 5 minutes, and we're still working together, 7 years after?
But that's what they say. That's what opportunity is, when preparation meets opportunity. So that was your time, and it couldn't happen the other way. So congrats to that. And I'm glad to see you guys are still rocking and rolling. I mean, it's an amazing feat.
How involved is Richard Williams still with her game?
I think they're talking a lot. They're texting and they're talking. He's not coming as much as before, and he's not traveling to tournaments anymore. So he's less, but I think, he's the big figure of her life. He's so much involved with her tennis. He basically built both of them. And I think the thing he did, I think that is incredible, is the way he built their mental.
Right.
And he told me something he's an incredibly clever man.
Yeah.
And he told me this, and it's amazing also to see that it's again someone doesn't have a tennis background,
Right.
who's able to build probably two of the biggest champions of all time and 2 number ones in the world. He said to me that he thought at the start that a tennis match was going one way or another, depending how you would play 2, 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, a few points in the match, which is true. The break points for you, against you. These are the points. If you win them, you win the match. If you lose them, you lose the match, basically. And he thought, and he's right, I think, that when it comes to those points, both players have a lot of emotion and stress, and they deal more or less well with this stress. And the most confident player will always be better on those points than the one that is less confident. So he said to me, I worked on building their mental so they would be so strong mentally and so confident in themselves that they would play those points better than anyone else.
Well, first of all, Richard Williams was crazy. The same as Nick Bollettieri. He did things that people said could not be done.
Right.
And this man here, Patrick, he does things that people say can't be done. And the reason why, most people are afraid of failure, so they only do things they know they can be success in.
Exactly.
Now, Richard Williams told his daughters from the very beginning, run for every single ball. Daddy, the ball was way out. There's no ball out. And if you run for every single ball, immediately With your brains and eyes working simultaneously, you'll reach the balls you never thought. So Patrick and I are going to build a court with no lines.
What?
That means you run for everything. Number 2, he also said that before his 2 daughters went out to play a match, they played a match before they went out. They came out sweating. Why? If you look at boxers, they come out sweating.
Right.
And Richard Williams said, 1 punch can knock you out. So he had his girls ready.
That's awesome. I felt like I was in the middle of like a storybook or something. I mean, because your voice, Nick, when you talk, it's just kind of like, it didn't go show. I was just like taken to another place.
Listening to Nick Bollettieri.
Like, I was just like, okay, wow, that's...
Hey, just for our listeners again, we're here with Nick Bollettieri.
Absolutely.
And Patrick Mouratoglou in one room. About tennis.
In one room, speaking about tennis. I mean, this is like the perfect mindset right here. I mean, honestly, if we had Richard Williams right here, I think the whole place would just be off the walls. I mean, it couldn't get any better. I mean, just to have you do 2 here right now, it's phenomenal.
What Nick said is incredibly important and so true, and it's true for all the players. Most of the people are acting because they're afraid of failure, and most of them don't do what they should do because of that. And how many people do you know that have a passion in life? They never try their passion because they're afraid to fail, and they have a life that doesn't fit what their dreams are.
Right.
This guy sitting next to me made the life he was dreaming of, and the champions are doing the same. And our role with the players, one of the big role I think of the coaches, is to help the players believe enough in their dreams,
right,
to do what they have to do in order to achieve what they can achieve.
Right.
But it comes with relationship, right, Patrick?
Oh, of course.
To paraphrase Barry White, I'm never going to quit because quitting
just ain't my
thing. Now, Nick Bollettieri, I'll be with you step by step, and we as a team will fight through the doubters, accepting their negative words as fuel to do it. Guess what? We did it. Your success will impact everything you do, and so many others, including your families now and forever. And Patrick and I will tell you, our goal is not to help someone become a great tennis player.
Right.
Our goal is to help these people do something for people later on that impacts them for generations. Yeah. In my new book that I just wrote, the first of my 10 books, I wrote it myself. My thumb is twice the size because I don't know how to use a computer. And it's called A Coach's Journey. And the first part of the book is what I learned from my top 32 players. For instance, Andre Agassi taught me to be a better listener. Serena Williams, from the first ball, I'm going to get you. Monica Seles, Nick, can we hit a few more balls? Can we hit a few more balls? And then the last part of the book is the impact that I made on lives of people, not just on the athletic field. And the great chapter of the book is done on trust, leadership, by the former commander of the Blue Angels. That was my pilot when we went up to fly. Now, remember, I didn't do poo-poo, but I wore a diaper.
Yeah.
But the book is very interesting because it's in my language. And I'm going to tell you something. Patrick will tell you. Yes, we've helped Serena, we've helped Maria, we helped Tommy Haas. But if they then, in turn, help people, then we were a coach of helping the world, not just on the tennis court.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I just gotta. Okay. Deeper respect, deeper understanding now that I know, because I mean, I've always just seen, of you or heard of certain things you've done. But I mean, to take that in right now, and I mean, I hope everybody that's listening and even watching it as well understands what's really going on right here. When was the last time you had these two right here in the room together? I want to say these two because Sean has a great mind also. So, I mean, just the fact that, they're here. I mean, I'm one dad amongst three coaches. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, right now, this alone is just a blessing in itself. So whatever else we got to talk about.
Let me tell you what I think about this young man. I let him adopt legally my middle name, my last name. So his name is Sean Bollettieri Abdali. That's what I think about this man here. And he cares for children as well. So when you have the name Bollettieri, you have to be special, baby.
Absolutely.
You understand? Am I right, Patrick?
Can I have a piece of you?
Sure.
Hey, so going back to some fun stuff now. I heard last year you guys were supposed to be around a table talking about tennis, talking about your different methods. So let's have a little bit of a coach's battle on this little show
There
here.
we go.
What do you think?
Let's do it. Let's do it. The coaches battle.
All right. So we should go away a little bit.
Yeah. I don't want to get in the middle in case stuff start flying and stuff. Let's just, we got gloves behind you if it gets too physical.
So Patrick, what are some things you guys think differently on?
It's a very good question. I think we think alike a lot. And actually, Nick came was last year or 2 years ago with the idea to do something together for coaches to spend time and a lot of time. We met on that kind of event where we spend an hour or two with coaches, and we thought it's much too short to really help them and make a difference in their coaching style. We need to spend enough time, a few days, go on the court with them, answer to 1,000 questions. And I know that if we do that, we will realize that we think alike in most of the things. It's more about the style. Yeah. We have different style. I'm European. He's American. No, it's different. It's different. And we have a different life. So when you have a different life, different background,
But we respect each other.
A lot. Yes. A lot.
Okay.
And I said, before you came, I created my academy because you did it. Otherwise, I would never do that. I would never even think about it. And someone has to lead the way. And you are the one who made it possible, like Serena and Venus made it possible for a lot of African-American people in tennis. Because before then, there was already a few, but to become number one, to become the best player for an African-American in this tennis that was a white sport that looked impossible. Sure. And they opened the door, and now we see so many. Right. And that's great. So they were the leaders, and you were the leader in your field. So the other thing, more than here.
The other thing that I'm doing, back in the late 80s, I was sitting on a bench with Arthur Ashe. And he said, Nick, what are we going to do about the hundreds of thousands of boys and girls that'll never get to hit a ball? Don't worry about it, Arthur. I started the Ashe Bollettieri program with Bob Davis being the director in Newark, New Jersey.
Wow.
As we walked into the park with police guarding us, Arthur looked over his shoulder and said, Nick, are we coming back? Yes, Arthur. Listen to what Arthur said. We cannot give children a one-day false festivity. You do more damage. We ran that program for 13 years, and I'm proud to say that 2 months ago, I brought Bob Davis back, and I now started the Bollettieri Tennis and Learning Program in the Sarasota, Bradenton area that will spread the system on tutoring, learning, tennis, mentoring, and we have 5 black colleges already, and I'm meeting with the president of South Florida next week, that if the kids maintain their grades, attendance, physical fitness, they're going to be guaranteed scholarships, not based on tennis. And I've raised the money to do this, and Nick Bollettieri will not take 1 penny compensation. This is what I want to do. And I don't just talk the walk, I walk the walk, because my wife and I have 2 adopted sons from Ethiopia. And what do we expect from Giacomo and Giovanni? To give other boys and girls the opportunity they have. So that's where I'm spending a lot of my time, and I'm very proud that on March 27th, the state capital, the governor, and the Senate is bringing me up to Tallahassee to give me an award for what I've done for people, for the state of Florida, and for children. And that's what Nick wants to be remembered for.
That's amazing.
Not the accomplishments and what I just help kids with, But what I do, that'll impact generations. And that's the greatest reward a person can get.
Right.
Hey, Terry, why don't you tell them about Rally with Callie? What's that about?
Okay, so my daughter, she's 12, right? You know, we're from Compton. I would say from Compton. We're still in Compton. So yeah, and what she does, she plays tennis. And, when we first, you know, Venus and Serena, of course, they're from Compton, but even though they're from Compton, like, you still don't look at Compton as a place to go play tennis. I mean, either the courts are no nets or wherever the courts are, you're like, I don't want to go hit there. Like, why not? It's a liquor store and you got these gangbangers hanging out right here. So why even get into that? But Rally with Callie, what my daughter wants to do or what she's doing is, she's hosting the clinic, and it's going to be at a high school in Compton, and we're going to host like 300 kids, free food, hidden. The mayor's going to be involved. Nike's involved. And it's just something she wants to start as an event. And then that event will turn to clinics. And then eventually those clinics, she wants to turn it into the Callie Minor Tennis Academy of Compton.
So I tell you what I'm going to do. You have one student picked out. You raise the money for the transportation, and they will have 1 week free at the IMG Academy this summer. You raise the money to fly them there, and I'll give them the $2,500 scholarship.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's amazing.
And just to even think of something like that, like a kid from Compton, just to be able, we're lucky if we get to go to drive by the airport to see the planes take off. But to be able to go there, get on the plane and get out of here, I mean, that's just phenomenal. See, people don't realize it's like when you give a black kid's confidence, you give them the key to pretty much like doing things that's supposed to be done. That's why a lot of times people want to hold us back and don't want to give us certain things, because once we get it, we got it.
But big brother, I'm the first white Caucasian male to be inducted to the Black Tennis Hall of Fame.
I know that's right.
So my son, Giacomo, said, Daddy, you got to work on your tan.
Yeah.
But I'm more proud of that than just about anything I've ever done in my life. To be, of course, that's Arthur Ashe, Thea Gibson. And to me, I grew up in a black Italian neighborhood in North Pelham, New York. Color, religion, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
We're all the same, baby.
Pretty much.
Okay?
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
So both these guys have contributed so much to tennis. And Patrick, tell us a little bit about in France or in Europe, how is tennis different than here? As far as if the kid cannot afford tennis and they're from inner cities of those areas, who helps them? Is there federations that help them? Is there academies like yourself that helps them?
I think it depends on the countries. The US and France have a lot of chance in a way because the federations are very rich because of the Grand Slams. When a country has a Grand Slam, they make a lot of money, and this money can be, I'm not saying they invest all of it, but should be invested in helping young players that have potential, because it's a very expensive sport if you want to succeed. So if you're French, you are lucky. If you're American, in a way, you're lucky. Yeah. You have to be good. But if you're good, then you have a good chance to be helped by the federation financially, which is not true for most of the other countries in Europe, because the federations are not that rich, and it's a very expensive sport. So that's also, and Nick helped so many players, and now he's helping some others through all the things he explained. I try also to do it. I started my foundation in 2014 with the goal to select the players that I thought had a great potential and didn't have enough funds to succeed, and we helped a few, and Stefanos Tsitsipas is one of those. Now he doesn't need the help of the foundation anymore. We stopped a few years ago, but he was when he was younger. Corey Goff was also helped. Alexei Popyrin, who's 19 years old, and he was in the third round of the Australian Open this year. He's a great potential also, is coming out of the foundation. So I think we're doing a good job. I wish we could help many more.
Right.
But again, it's very expensive, and we found the money throughout people who are wealthy and who love tennis that I met, and they're nice enough to give back to young players.
Yeah, but they're also given to a trusted source, not to anybody. They're given to an experienced coach with a lot of resources to actually do all the right stuff.
Exactly.
So that makes a big difference.
There's something that I think we should talk about. Out of 3,000 men and ladies on the tour, 1% make a living. Back in the 80s and 90s, I turned my students professional when they were still in diapers. Today, everyone listening to this consider a scholarship to college. Unless you're an exception, that you get a multi-million-dollar contract up front. First of all, back in the 80s and 90s, 5'10", 5'11", Pete Sampras, 6'2", was a giant. Today, 6'4" to 7 feet tall.
Yep.
Girls, 5'9" to 6'1".
Right.
So everybody, please understand the odds. And as Patrick said before, tennis is expensive. In New York, to rent a court, $250 an hour. $200 for a lesson. Why do you think the boys and girls are going to football, basketball, soccer? So what the USTA is doing now, and I'm very proud of Martin Blackman, one of my former students, he's heading up the USTA development program, and they're subsidizing a lot of coaches with their players to make it. But remember something, no matter what you say, tennis is expensive.
Right. Exactly. No way around it.
But is the thought the same in Europe as well? Like a lot of people in America say Europeans are more open to playing pro and they don't think about college. What's the truth?
It's quite true. I think the college system in the US is probably the best system in the world. And I 100% agree with Nick. When you have the chance to go to college with a scholarship thanks to your sport, you should definitely do it, unless you think you have the potential to become a top 10 player. And the thing is, you have to be realistic about your chances. That's the thing. What I wish is that the ITF, the International Tennis Federation, would do a great job in the future, and I hope they will. They changed the system for the ITF tournaments, and now you have to go through the juniors. You have no other way. I just remind us that Serena didn't go through the juniors, Venus didn't go through the juniors,
Andre didn't go through
the juniors.
All of my boys did.
And the problem is, when you have to go through the juniors, it makes it even much more expensive.
Sure it does.
So they have to find a way to bring back more money to those players. If they would have more money, they would have a chance to compete, and they would have a chance to become top 100 and make a living with tennis. Yeah. But most of them are going to get discouraged, because this is crazy what's happening now with this system.
Yes, you're right.
They have to figure out, because they're killing tennis doing that. Because all these kids are going to go to college, and they're not going to play pro. So what is the tennis going to look like in 10, 15, 20 years? You have to think about that. And you building this now with the decisions you're taking. So the International Tennis Federation has to go back to work and create a system where you can make a living being 200 or 300 in the world, which is already amazing.
Yeah. They're almost discouraging it.
Yeah. Well, if you remember in 2009, when we were experiencing the worst recession this country's ever faced, basically at that time, the ITF tournaments started getting weaker, because people started thinking, well, why should I spend money on the junior tour? I'm going to just save that money for my children to go play on the pro tour. So it's exactly what you're saying. So what do you think can be done to solve that problem?
It's the distribution of the money. It's always about that. Yeah. And this money distribution has to be, of course, the top players should get more than others. There is no discussion about that. But first of all, what is the percentage of money that goes back to the players, and what is the percentage of money that goes somewhere else? That's the first question. And you have to find a good balance and redistribute enough money to the players, and look at the ones, again, who are from 100 to 300. I think you should also look at the doubles players. I'm not going to have friends saying that, but I mean it. I think that they're making a lot of money. And I think some of this money should go also to the players who are between 100 or 300. Again, and third, you have to find a way not to keep players too long out of the top 100. If they stay too long out of the top 100, they're losing money every week of their life. Yeah. Who can do that? This is crazy.
We see every day how much money the football players and basketball players are making. I never understood why the executives that are running ATP or WTA, why they're not looking at the sport or how they can make it more entertaining to possibly make it more exciting. So that way the money pool become a lot bigger with advertising on TV or just make it more popular, because the popularity is kind of down.
Like, why has
100% agree on that. Sorry.
Like, why hasn't Serena come out the U.S. Open final yet with Beyonce in front of her, you know, performing and just like, walking out? Like, why not? I mean, it's like a boxing match, right? You got boxers come out. You had a performer rapping out. Why hasn't Beyonce come out or come like that? That should be in the final. Players be able to walk out with the artist they want to come out with. And it just be like, you know, like an entertainment thing on it, because that's what it is. In basketball, you have All-Star. Football, you have Super Bowl. Tennis, you have nothing.
Well, especially at Wimbledon.
Wimbledon is the worst in that.
At 11 o'clock, about 4 years ago, I was doing the commentating for BBC, Andy Murray match, and went 2 minutes past 11, and the neighbors went crazy. Wow. If this happened in New York City, they'd tear the stadium down.
Yep.
Okay, they played till 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Baby.
Yeah, for sure.
Terry, that's a very good point that you made. I think also that, I mean, if you look at the tennis fans, the average age of the tennis fans, it's getting older and older. It's around 60 years old,
right?
Average. So we have to think, how can we attract the young generations to our sport? That's very important. And we live, nowadays, there are a lot of other sports. You mentioned, of course, basketball, American football.
Right.
Those sports are exciting to watch for young people. Tennis has to become more exciting to watch. I mean, for us who love tennis, we don't need that. But to attract young people who have so much choice,
right,
you have to bring something else to the table. That's why everybody loves Kyrgios, because it brings other things to the table. Yeah. So we cannot ask everyone to be Kyrgios,
right,
because it's not possible.
Right.
But first of all, you have to let the players express themselves on a tennis court much more. I mean, these rules that if you break your racket, you get so much money. I mean, this is crazy. Stop this. Let people be who they are, express themselves. We all remember McEnroe that was completely crazy on a tennis court, and he made tennis so popular. Right?
Yeah, we wanted to watch tennis all the time.
Of course, we need that. We need more human experience on the court. We need to know who's who. Yep. So then we need to let the players express themselves. Yep. We need to bring the coaches on the court, like during the Davis Cup or the Fed Cup, and have exchanges with the players. It's going to make, I mean, we have to create a show.
But we have to also give credit to the French Federation, the Canadian Federation, the USTA have made a lot of improvements, and the French Federation has a great reputation in the U.S. as far as what they've done. And U.S. has started the Net Generation program, the Under 10s program. This is all wonderful. But how do we get the entertainers involved? How do we get the entertainment companies involved? People who promoted boxing matches like Mike Tyson's and Michael Jordan's. What do we need to do to get these guys involved?
You got to let the players be a player, a tennis player, and a human being on the court.
Yep.
Okay?
True.
I mean, Murray. Hey, Tommy Haas, Red, you don't know nothing. That's what it's about. Connors, many years ago, playing my Krickstein in the fifth set, losing, went over and sat in the spectator's box.
Wow.
He won the match. McEnroe, breaking rackets, my gosh, the rackets he broke would take care of a whole community. But people like that action, man.
Right.
You can't be a saint out there. And it's becoming too square.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can be a saint, but one guy can be a saint. Not everyone can, because then it's boring. You have to let people be who they are, and who are we to give lessons and don't let people be who they are and show who they are. This is not normal. Same with the ITF that creates a rule that says that young players are not allowed to play more than this number of tournaments per year. What is this?
Right.
So with this rule, Martina Hingis would never be number one in the world at 16 years old.
Yeah.
Because and maybe she would never be number one in the world, because the momentum is an important point. If you kill the momentum, it's not the same. The career is not the same. What's the problem with having a player who's 16 years old and number one in the world if she's able to achieve that? It's great. Tennis is also, I mean, life is about diversity, right?
Yeah.
So to have young players, old players, black, white, calm people, nervous people, crazy people, that's great. That's what people want to watch. We don't want to watch everyone behaving the same, being the same age and same color. How boring is that?
Especially when it's a one-on-one sport.
Right.
Okay? Imagine everybody out there hit like this. What are you kidding me? You got to have some action, man.
You do.
If you don't have some action, it's over. Curious. Me, I could relate to the guy. You know why?
What?
I let him talk. I let him listen. And I give him boop, 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 boop. I can relate to Kyrgios.
Right.
But to make him change, I would make adjustments. And we Italians know how to make a little bit here, a little bit there.
Yeah.
And I make a change without you knowing it.
There you go.
And that's what you have to do with a guy like Kyrgios. What do you think, Patrick?
We agree once again.
Man, I can't get these guys to disagree on anything.
That's amazing.
So in Europe, especially at your academy, I know at IMG, their programs start for players that are 8 and above, correct? So how about in Mouratoglou?
We start the program at 11 years old.
Okay.
But we're open because, again, I explained earlier that everybody's different and our role as coaches is to find the right method for each player, which is different. So if a player who's 8 years old comes with his family, there is no problem. I just don't want...
That's the same as us. You're incorrect. It's 11 years old unless they come with the family in a short time program.
We agree once again.
There you go.
We don't take 8-year-olds.
So what happens in Mouratoglou's academy when a player comes with a parent or a mother or father or both, and you watch the player play and the mother says, my daughter's going to be number 1 in the world, and you're watching this player and you know it's not going to happen. How do you actually try to not offend them but guide them the right way? And Nick, same thing for you. Same question for you.
So first of all, I don't know. And I never think I know. And if I made a career, it's because I never think I know.
Yeah.
Of course, I have convictions, but I will never say this guy will not make it because I know tennis too well to know that it's not true. And I made a lot of mistakes. I mean, I'm right sometimes and I'm wrong sometimes. And of course, I know tennis probably better than other people, not than everyone, but more than other people. But still, we all make mistakes. We don't know, until because you don't know how much people are prepared to give, how much they're prepared to fight.
Right.
It's things that you get to learn when you know the people better. You see that he has more or less abilities, but if you look at the top ones, it's not a question of abilities. It's more a question of mental. It's a question of personality. The biggest champions are incredible personalities. They think different.
Yeah.
So this is something that it takes time to get to know the people. I never say never. I will never say to anyone, your son or your daughter is going to be this or that. I'm going to say he or she has potential and it's worth moving forward. It's worth investing time.
Yeah.
It's worth this or that. I will never break the dream of anyone. So, I got my dream broken when I was young. I know what it is. I will never do that to anyone. Never. But I will never promise anything either that I'm not sure of. I promise that I will do something for him or her if I'm sure I'm going to do it. I'm not promised he's going to achieve this or that.
Yeah.
Okay. What would I do? Patrick, I'm going to take your son and do everything I can do to have your son live up to the ability he has.
Right.
I'm going to do everything. Okay? I don't say not going to be number 1, not going to be number 5, but I'm going to take everything I have to bring your son to the level of what they have. Number 2, a coach can change the personality of a youngster or even a teenager by letting that youngster go home thinking they're a failure. Me, I'll stay there until the moon comes out, making sure that child
I've seen that.
Goes home saying to his parents, I want to go back again tomorrow. Okay? And that's why this guy right here and I get along, because we think a lot alike.
Right.
All right? But remember something, out of the whole world, there's only one person that's perfect. The man upstairs.
Absolutely. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, now since we're along, we've asked you two that question, but I have someone else. I want to know, Sean, what you would think, because I think Sean is a phenomenal coach, and me personally, it's not too many people I allow around my daughter, and just being around him right now, like Sean, he is. Thanks, I can say on air, he is her coach.
Thanks, man. You're very sweet. You make him mushy.
So let's say, how would you answer that?
Everything I've learned, honestly, it comes from Nick and my students and the parents that I've been around. Every day is a learning experience. But for me, going back to what I think Patrick and I spoke about, is relationship. if I feel like I'm close with a parent and I feel comfortable talking to them, I will tell them what I really think.
Right.
I feel a responsibility when a parent comes to me, spending a lot of money, getting to me and being on the court to guide them to go towards the right direction. So if I feel they're really off, I'm going to try to correct that the best I can towards a positive direction as fast as I can. And again, I credit all the stuff that I do, to Nick and great coaches like Patrick and my students.
Awesome. Well, all great listens, all great views. You guys are all phenomenal, man. I learned so much right now. I honestly feel like I just have this tons of knowledge, and now that we have it recorded, I'm just fired up as a parent, just ready to go out there and be the best support system that I could be for my daughter.
You got the money, baby. I can help you too. Don't you worry about that.
Oh man, that's amazing. Absolutely. But like I say, we love it. We're in Newport with Sean, and it's been great. It's been great so far, so good. I mean, we're next for a better situation right now.
Thanks, man. We're looking forward to seeing Patrick and his academy in June. And Nick, as always, thanks for everything, and love going to IMG and being with all you guys. And shout out to Serena. Good luck at Indian Wells.
Yeah.
Take it.
Thank you.
You got this.
And remember the last remark. I built the first live-in tennis academy of the world. Why is it successful? Because everyone copied it. And for that, I'm happy.
There you
because
go.
Many years ago, Sanchez came to me and he said, Nick, I'm building an academy down the street. He spent 2 days there and I taught him every single thing of what made my academy. You know why?
Why?
Having competition and another installation is good for the game.
There you
And
go.
when you fear who you are, you're afraid to tell people things. Me, I'd tell them everything, including my 8 wives and everything else.
There you go. That's awesome. This was a historic and classic episode of First. I'm sorry, I can't even get the name now. I think Bollettieri got me thinking of totally different things, but classic episode of Off Court Noise. Legendary coaches. Patrick, I don't want to butcher the last name. Mouratoglou. Patrick Mouratoglou.
Bravo.
Exactly. Nick Bollettieri. Nick Bollettieri. I was hoping he would have walked in with the shades on, but it's okay. And of course, I'm Terry Minor, and with me as always is my co-host
Sean Bollettieri Abdali.
And First Court Noise, Off Court Noise. Like I've never actually messed up. I'm good with the outros, but you know what? It's okay, right?
It's all
better
good,
episode.
man.
We're all good. Off Court Noise. If you got to make noise, what better place to make it than off court with us? Thank you for coming in, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.